Okay. Again, I'm Susan. Dana introduced me nicely. I'm a multidisciplinary artist, interdisciplinary. I've been recently specializing in like glass work, video work, and installation when I can and have the space. I was born and raised in LA, born in 1996, which is influential to my work, like in being in that time period. I was raised by Mexican and Honduran parents, so that's what my background is. And again, I went to University of Virginia for my undergrad, where I met Dana. And also, just since we brought it up, I also double majored in cognitive science at Virginia. I also like I don't know if Dana knows this, but the reason I took my first art class was because it was a general elective. And I saw my friend doing it the previous year. So I thought like I could take that because I need to fill a general elective. And so I just,
And it ruined your life.
yeah. So I was just like, oh, I'll take one course. And then I was like, oh, I'll take another one. And this was like the end of my second year into my third year was when I started doing art. So it was definitely like I was already in the cognitive science major, like doing that. Um, and then I just kept doing it. I really loved it. And yeah, totally changed my life in a crazy way. But I relate to that, taking courses because you kind of need to, but then choosing fun ones. I respect that. I got my MFA at UCLA in 2022. And then some of my work inspired by family, using home footage, being inspired by pop culture and like themes of worship, especially connected to when I use stained glass and like the desire that comes from that quality of glass. And I also am interested in kind of creating and playing with our natural, virtual, and created worlds. So that's just some brief bio overview. And my work, again, it comes from a lot of home footage, home photos, kind of an archive that I've tried to collect. I'm in the process and have been in the process of like scanning my home photos. There's a lot of them that I still need to do, but I have that as a resource as well as video. So I digitized home footage from tape to get everything digitized on a hard drive and to save those and to actually be able to watch them a lot easier without needing like that old camera. So I have that archive as well, and I really believe in like collecting these kind of fragments of our lives and like digitizing everything and kind of holding everything as much as we can. My work uh, is a bit inspired by grief, and all of the work I'm talking about in this talk has been since COVID and since like my both my grandmas passed away, one from COVID and one the next year from a stroke. And what was left of them, especially my grandma from COVID, was very digital passing because she was the one where we had to like stream her funeral. So it was just like it really got me into digitizing and like really holding on and like we saved my grandma's phone and her phone had like a lot of audio recordings because she didn't write that well, so she had a lot of audio messages and kind of how we exist digitally. And we kind of live in a hard drive and like as we go on and we live in these videos that we saved. And so I'm really interested in kind of like this archive for existing, continued existence. So my work plays with these moments of like old memories being brought into the present. This was the first work I made after my grandma's passed away. And they both passed away pretty close in time to each other. So it's just a lot about family at the time. And this was the first work I made. It was inspired by looking through the home footage and going through my family memories that I wasn't really a part of. I was like a little kid when these were filmed. My dad filmed them. And I was just so captured by seeing my dad, seeing my family during a time where they were young immigrants. So they were in Los Angeles and they were kind of in their 20s, just like having fun, exploring. So, and then this work, I also discovered that my dad, at the same time as like coming to LA for the first time, being with like surrounded by an immigrant community, he was also searching for like UFOs. So the parallels there was just like really interesting to me and very insightful to me for him as a person and the rest of my family. So I made this video work that collaged his footage at that time with some of my footage and just like simple animation over. So kind of just like collaging his footage with my digital elements on top. And it's called In Search of Aliens, which is a title that he came up with in the video. And I'm just going to show a 3 minute clip from that. Because it's kind of, this is the first, I have like a pre loss Susan. Like the work I was making before was like very political, very much about whiteness and otherness. But then the work that's after me kind of experiencing my first sense of grief is this is the first work and everything that follows it is much more about family and community and the digital. So I'm going to play a short clip from that.
Pues aquí voy rumbo a Los Mochis, aquí por la carretera de Arizona, el Freeway 10. Y pues aquí todo calmado, muy plana la carretera. Estoy viendo aquella área de allá. Allá es donde aterrizan los ovnis. Allá andan en la loma aquella de Lomita. Por eso voy alerta, voy grabando para ver si veo uno. En otro estilo.
Why do you believe in aliens?
I like to believe in them because it's just different than humans. Because when you really think about it, you really think humans are the only like beings out here, like in like this whole like solar system, like the universe, the billions of universes that are out here. No.
Aquí es un área de descanso aquí en Arizona. Pero me voy a poner trucha para ver si hay algún extraterrestre porque algunos que vienen a descansar aquí dicen. Y voy a ir al baño. Ahorita cuando fui al baño dejé la puerta abierta de la troca y creo que se me subieron dos. Ahí van adelante, pero no les digo nada porque se enojan. Este es un extraterrestre. ¿Qué están haciendo?
¿Por qué no por qué no lo aprietas así? Mira,
¿Qué están haciendo?
¿Qué estás haciendo? No, va a empezar a... Ahí va. Vaya a ir dando vueltas. Coge.
¿Se lo va a mandar a Dios?
Ahí va. Dile adiós.
Allá va.
Mira. Hoy sí que ahí se va. Ahí está bueno. Ya se va.
Ya se va. Otra vez.
Okay, so that was that work. Involves a lot of different kind of video layering and simple animation and collage with my dad my dad's footage and my kind of conversation with that, but also my siblings are in it. So it's kind of like it was like a whole family experience, which also this was like COVID still, so it was very like uniting and a pleasant project to take on after in that time. Um, okay, so then some years later, in 2023, I had a solo show where I worked on this project called Stellar Remnants. And this is a video installation with stained glass. So you have these stained glass star sculptures on a pedestal, and they have light inside, and on top of them is mirror. And then you have a projection, one projector that is hitting those mirrors, and the video bounces back up from the mirror projection. So they end up on the ceiling. So this was a work that was inspired by my family funerals, and it features three of my family funerals that were all recorded. So those are the ones that were kind of saved, and they are different periods in time. So one is from like the 90s with my great grandfather, and then one is from the 2000s with my godfather, and then my grandma's. So, and then theirs was also recorded, but it was streamed digitally. So we have this digital stream recording. So they were all playing, and it's inspired by stellar remnants as the idea of them, the scientific idea of a stellar remnant being what a star is called after it dies. So when a star dies, it transforms into something else. So it could be a white dwarf, a neutron star, or a black hole. So those things are all known as stellar remnants. They transform. So I was thinking of it as like the stars relating to life and death, and also kind of these people and their memories transforming into a video work or like a digital work, or like these digital entities and these parts of their lives lived on, the ones that were recorded. So like a transformation of existence. And it was kind of immersive. It was all in a room. So this is a short video just to get like close up of the stars going up to the ceiling. And there was also you can see in the three different funerals, there was different locations, different countries that they were in as my family migrated, and then the different possession music over the decades, and then kind of like the quality of video too.
Yo no conocía a la gente, no conocía a la persona y no conocía a los familiares tampoco, pero nos llamaron aquí a Cintas Acuario y pues tuvimos la oportunidad de
Just
hacer.
a close up. And then this is a close up of the star sculpture. So then you have the mirror part of the stained glass on top to reflect that video. And this is a great installation. It's one of my favorites that I'm actually going to build on later this year. And this work is from last year, 2024. It was an installation I did on a organization here. They have a building. They're called Art Division LA, and they run an art school, art workshops for the community, and they have shows and galleries. And they had me install things in their windows. It's called The Watchers, and this is based on a portrait of my one of my grandfathers, and it's on this window up high, and I have photos. So you can kind of like he's like 10 feet in the air, and he's kind of like looking down at the ground or whoever's watching him. So this is called The Watchers, and this is it at night. So this is like a building. This is the larger building. So you have these two windows here that I was playing with. This is Art Division. This one is the one where my grandfather is at, and this is the one where my grandma is at. And then that's her. So one of my grandmas is on the other one. So they kind of had the pair on both sides now that they're both passed away. And this is at night. So this is where my grandma is at on the left side, and then my grandpa on the right side. And this is it's a video still, and they don't have photos really. My grandma definitely does. My grandpa, he passed away when I was very young. So it's been a long time. So they kind of And where they in Honduras, they're from Honduras, and where they're from, they don't really have photos of him, so they kind of had these like paintings made of one of them together. So this is like a portrait that they have reproduced a lot as like their portrait together. So this is a video still of from like one of the home footage videos that I had digitized that I looked at, and I kind of screenshotted it just as a reference. And this is me using that reference just to show you the process. Using the reference to create this in Illustrator to have a map of where the windows are. So I can work with it a lot, like to scale it up basically, because the windows are like 4 feet almost. So they're pretty big and they're high up in the air, like you can see here. So it was a good project, and they're still there. It's just like an install in that building now, which is nice. And it's a blue film, so it lets out some blue light in the building from the inside when the sun shines through. So on the inside, when the sun goes through, you can see like the silhouette of their faces on the walls, lightly, but it's really nice. Let's see. So then I had a show. So I've been working with my family. Sometimes I work with my family on projects, and then sometimes I work with myself and my own image and my own person as like a character. So I made this work for a show called Would You Like to Interact? And it's an interaction piece. So there is a button on the right that says interact, and it has light glowing that kind of strobes on and off. And then there's an image of me or a video of me just standing there, kind of waiting for interaction. And it's very simple. This is a little video. I'm just standing there until someone pushes the button, and then I wave. And then I go back to kind of a neutral state. And I've when the in this past for this show, I was thinking a lot about like my upbringing in early internet into like full-blown social media now, and how it's just so crazy. And just thinking of like the ways that we interact with each other and interact on social media. And if it's like if you don't post on social media, like this is how I feel. Like if I don't post on there, then like I just don't exist in a form. Like people don't know where I am, they don't know where I'm at. So I'm just kind of in this like blank state. But then when I post and when people like it, they can like have a moment of interaction with me online. Like if they react to a story, like, oh, that was like a little wave or a little hello online, to know that's like there's actual people on the other side for a moment, other than just being the computer. So I'm kind of really relating to like feeling like I'm in the digital world, like a part of it. And this is the button, just up close. It's 3D printed, and it's just one button that just does one action, mimicking kind of like the heart on like Instagram. And then this is just a photo of this was like what the shot looked like, and then I just cropped it in for the work. So behind me, I just had a big black blanket, and I just had it like on hooks, clipped to a shelf so it could stay up. And I just had the light on me, but then to the side, so then the black just kind of all like blended in, and just kind of lit from the front. So it would be that distance when I can crop it out later.
Your expression on like the returning to like a resting state is so
Yeah.
epic. And I don't know how many takes you had because it feels really natural, but it
Oh,
also like completely captures how I feel like after I do both ends of that interaction where it's like, oh yeah, I like this person's stuff. So it's like
yeah.
a really like the same kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
Ugh,
like a moment, but then it's
yeah,
like it goes so fast also. Like the wave is much longer than it actually is. But
yeah.
yeah, it's so fast to back to kind of neutral, just like going through waiting. Totally. I definitely like I do a lot of takes. I'm like I do like a million, and I just like keep the camera rolling, and I just go back and just keep going, keep trying it. And then later I just like look through all of them and like the one long video and then cut it. Um, but because it's just kind of me in my room, I just like just do a lot. And the overall video that I shot of me standing still was like 20 minutes. And that was really hard because I had to stay as still as I possibly could because I wanted the loop to not look so drastic, like a change in posture. If I'm like, if I start moving around like to the left or right or like slumping my shoulders more, then the loop wouldn't like look as clean. So I tried my best. So it was like I wanted to do it longer, but I was like, like to stand still, like actually still is very hard. So I did that just like once, just like or a couple times, but just to make sure I was actually standing still. But the one I got, it was when I went the whole time. Uh, okay, so then I was also for the same show, I was working with myself again as the image. But myself is kind of a consumable aspect of the show because in the gallery, like things are for sale and things are very expensive. Like fine art is very expensive. But I wanted to have something that was more accessible and kind of like a part of that conversation. So I made this work titled Please Take Me Away From Here, which was a collection of myself as stickers. So there are these small, kind of handheld size stickers of myself, just replicas. And people were free to take them. They were free. And people did take them. So that was nice. And they kind of just went with people into wherever they ended up. So I really like that. And I really like giving stuff out for free when you go to a gallery. It's like, because everything is just crazy expensive. And people can kind of share. And like the artist himself is like a part of the art, which I thought that was fun. Um, I did the first batch for the opening of the show. I thought no one would take them, and then everyone took them. So I had to make a second round, and then I had the idea like each round should be a different outfit. So for the second round, I did this one, different outfit, different colored shirt, different colored pants and shoes, just so it was like you can think of it more as a collectible. Like you collected this one outfit, the second outfit, you can collect that one. You didn't have that one yet for people who might come back to the show. So during the show run, it could be different. This was just a photo on the left of like, I actually was not even, I was like in a hotel. Like I wasn't even like in LA when I had to print out the second round. So I just like took a quick photo so I could print out for the second round, just cutting it out in Photoshop. And then this is the second round, second edition that people could take from that I could refill in the show. And then my sister, she had taken one and she put it on her phone. And recently, just like a month before I left for the residency, so like in January, she showed me her progress on how her sticker was doing in the phone. And it looks like this. So this is
Oh no.
so this is kind of like what it progressed to. And this, so the show was last June, July, and she showed me this in January, so kind of like 6 months, and it's like so amazing because she's, I guess, really rough on her phone, but it's also just like this decomposing, decaying, and like going from outward inward. It's weird to see like my face, but I loved it, so I took a photo of it. So that was when I didn't even know that was happening. She just showed it to me before, like in January. So I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, yeah, that wear and the fact that it was natural, like organic through like a human use, that's very interesting.
Yeah,
So another body of work right there.
I know. Yeah, it was like it was much a surprise. Because I have stickers and stuff, and I've seen stickers on like people I work with, like coworkers that put them places, but they're not on stuff that they use, so they're all clean. But my sister had it on her phone, which she uses like crazy, I guess, and just very exposed. So I love it. I took a photo of it before when I last saw it. Um, Okay, and then I made a work similar as well to kind of being a part of the digital world and feeling very embedded and like a mirror to it. I made a work called Susan Sleeping, and it mimics myself as a one of those old screensavers, like DVD, TV, and it just goes across the screen. The loop is like 5 minutes. I made it in After Effects. And yeah, I just kind of bounce around. There is a point where I do like my toe touches the corner. So that does happen. You have to catch it. This is just a 30-second loop. But it's very much like connecting to like that feeling of like being one with like the digital. And this is just a reference photo for like how I cut myself out. I did many different poses. This was the one I chose in like this like bodysuit. Cut it out, and then that's how I had it kind of uh, to cut out and play within After Effects. And this was how it was installed for the show. My friend did the ceramics pieces that is next to it, like the Nintendogs. And then I had on this pink pedestal on this Princess TV, which was my childhood TV with my sisters. So we had that TV in our bedroom. So I digged it out from my parents' garage because they were gonna throw away, but they asked me first. So I was able to save it, and it still works, except for the sound doesn't work, but the video works. So I was able to use it and kind of like go back to that time period to connect it with the work. For the show as well, I made a stained glass phone replica. I made another one too. This one is based on the Razor phone. And this one, I was thinking a lot about phones, especially I started thinking about them because I remember when my grandma passed away, she, like, it was so important to find her phone and, like, who can have her phone and, like, who can save the things on her phone. And it was like she had, like, a flip phone. And I never had a flip phone because I lived after, or I had a phone after flip phones, kind of. Um, so it was a little bit like desiring something that I actually never really had. So it's just like based on desire and not on nostalgia so much. And that's why the glass I love as a quality to connect with this uh, digital media because it's like very desirable looking when you look at the glass. Uh, it has that shyness, like you want it again, even though it's like not real and it's an old reference to a phone. And this one had a live camera, so people can interact with it in a way. So the camera was where the camera would be on top of the phone, and then there was a monitor in the middle that was just playing a live feed. So a lot of people, it was like a huge selfie attractor, which was fun. People kind of interacting with the phone, with another phone. So it was fun to watch people really engage with it. And it's all stained glass as well for so it was very reflective. Like it's hard to document as well. I have to always, I have like photos of it where that's not me, but you can always like see and everything in stained glass. It's reflective. The kind that the glass that I use is very reflective, solid color. So it's a little difficult.
Susan, oh,
Yeah.
you might be about to talk about it. Like, roughly how big is that screen?
Oh yeah. The screen is like 5 inches. It's not big. But it's like you can see a good amount in it. The camera is like a wide angle, and it looks bigger in person. It sounds small, but it's like pretty big. But the overall work is like 30 inches high, so it's like all right, like a medium sized piece.
Yeah, this
Uh,
piece is so rad.
oh, thanks. Yeah, I really like it. I want to do yeah other stuff with it. Um, okay, and then so that's some of the work from last year from my show and from years before. And then now I'm going to talk about the work that I recently made during an art residency in Wales. So, like Dana said, I just got back and I was there for 5 weeks, 4 weeks in Wales, and then this past week I've just been exploring England. But mostly I was in Wales living there. They gave me a house and a studio, and I kind of just like settled in there for a bit. And I took my film camera. I like film, like shooting photography is like a hobby. So I'm not going to show my photos because I also still have to scan them. I got them developed there, but I still have to scan them. They just sent me like the the scans that they take. So I know what they look like, but and I have one more role to develop, so that's just for fun. But Wales is was a very good experience. An art residency is always kind of like like this was the first one where it was like very immersive in the area. I did other art residencies in the past where I'm taken to like an isolated place and like we're not really allowed to leave that much. We leave like once a week to get food and then we come back. And those have been in just a couple in the US. But this one was like I'm living there in a town and it's really immersive and I get to know people and I get to know restaurants and the shows and see a lot of stuff there. So it was really fun. I really liked it. But this is just it was a right next to the ocean, very coastal. So this is just a quick shot of the ocean that I took. Um, and this is the work that I made. I relate it because this is what like the color of Swansea is to me. Like, I stayed in Swansea, Wales. Just very gray, but kind of like a soft gray. It's also very industrial town and overcast a lot. So I was thinking about that too. And for my residency, they didn't really have a glass shop. So I worked on different stuff when I was there just to play around. So I kind of just, I still have to go through my photos and stuff trying to document the work, but I kind of got these quickly just to show. Um, but yeah, I played with textile, which I haven't done, I don't think, really in my work. They had a fabric shop that was really big and really good. So I decided to play with textile because I took some stuff to the residency, but because it was so far and I had to pack limited in a way, I didn't take much, too much. So I kind of got there and I was immediately inspired by what to make. So I found a fabric shop. I started working with fabric. And I also worked with photography a little bit. I'll show after. But one thing that I did know for this residency for Wales is that I wanted to take my family in some form. So related to kind of my sticker work and like my family interacting with my sticker work and they had conversations also themselves about like also wanting to do the sticker project as well. So before I left, I we did a photo shoot with them all, and I told them that I would be making this work in some form where the people in Wales could interact with these sticker work as well and make them a part of it, and kind of like bringing my family to Wales in a visual form. I was also like definitely missing home. I had a great time, but it's hard when you're so far away. So this is a work that's using or involving my family in the sticker project. So this is just a close up of them. So I it's all fabric, and then I nailed them in. And this is also like this work. It was kind of a residency project, so it's kind of like I went there a month and then we have a show at the end. So it was very like kind of just playing and putting things together and working with textile for the first time. So I'm like happy with it, but I definitely feels like a just like a test. I don't know, like a way of working. So this is just a close-ups of them.
Yeah,
And
it's interesting to like get asked to be somewhere for a month and get
yeah,
exposed to like media that you're not usually working with and then exhibit it.
yeah. It's very weird, yeah, to exhibit it because it's like that's a lot of pressure. And I gave also an artist talk at the Swansea College of Art. So like the students like they saw, my glass work and my video work and they were like excited to see this show. And I was like, okay, just so you know, this show
Oh
isn't
no. Yeah.
it's not the glass work and it's not gonna be the same, but please come. And they did come, which was really nice, but it definitely felt like pressure. So it was weird. I really liked the experience, but it definitely has a different feeling where you're like, you have to exhibit at the end of the residency what you've done. Um, but I try to take it lightly. But yeah, so this is just you could see my family in little stickers. So I brought them and I made little pockets for them, just trying to like learn how to display this work without in like a different form. This is my brother. Um, this is my mom. And when I told them about this project and me coming to Wales, because we talk about it, I told them to wear what they want the people in Wales to see them in. So like I wanted them to be aware like the people are gonna see you in this, and this is gonna be you as a character to them. So like dress what you want to dress in, knowing it'll be public, knowing it'll be like something that will be taken. So I definitely told them that. So they chose their outfits themselves based on like how they wanted to appear for people. Uh, this is my mom. This is mine. So I had another edition. And then this is my dad. So this is also just a little behind the scenes of the photo shoot day, which was just at my house. So I just had them. I wish I used a backdrop just to make the cutting out easier, but it was a bit crazy at my house. So I just had like a light. I had two different lights, and then just in my living room, and then I just cut them out, sent them to the sticker shop to finish in time. That's my dad, my sister, and then my other sister. So it was fun. They really liked it. They liked having a photo shoot day for the stickers and like knowing that they would become it just because they had seen my previous ones for my show. So it was fun before I left for Wales. And then I did some kind of photography work, a little bit, photo collage, involving the stickers as well. So these are photos. This was printed about like 24 by 36 inches. So like a nice medium size. It was printed there, which was nice because I could use the print shop at Wales. So I was always thinking about like, what can I get done in Wales and use their resources. So I thought photography and printing there would work easily for me to also finish it in time. So this was based on photos that I was taking when I was in Wales, so the landscapes there. And I was just thinking a lot about like bringing my family in and how they get like how they can be incorporated as like these ghosts or entities that kind of like are following me as I go around the landscape of Wales alone. So they're kind of like with me on that journey in like my mind or my spirit. So this is playing with that idea, almost like a portal or like coming in, dropping down. So the landscape is in negative, and then the I had two different prints. So this is collaged like by cutting and gluing. So the print background is the negative, and then the front is I printed another positive version that was I could cut out and glue on top of the negative print. So I could print it out. And then the stickers are on top of that. So I would take the stickers that I had printed, some of them, and then use them to collage them on as well. And then on the edges, I had these gems that I found over there just to kind of add some magic around the edges of the frame.
Oh wait, you found the little cheesy gems? You found them over
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Oh, I totally thought you took them. I'm like, oh yeah, that's
No.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah, I
nice.
know.
That's some really good synergy then with your work.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent the first week of my time there kind of scoping out what shops they had, and they had craft shops and a fabric shop and print shops. So I spent my first week just like trying to figure out what they had and what I was connecting to. So that was really nice. Yeah, and I like the little moments. And this is just a close up a little, so you can see the stickers are all layered, so they have this texture of like it's really weird. You could see them how they're layered on top of each other, the shapes.
So the stickers, do they have like a white area that you then had to cut out, or they're clear, like the border of the edge of the die cut and then the image? It looks like
Yeah,
it's clear here, right?
yeah, it's
For some
clear.
reason, I thought they were white. I guess that's just the backing.
That's the backing.
Got it.
Yeah, I print them on clear, but then the backing is still white, which I hate. I wish it was all clear. Um, but yeah, because then it looks so sharp. But I like the clear because it's slightly transparent when you print it on clear, so you can kind of see a little depending on what you put it on. And then here's a close up too, so you can see it kind of just like collages paper on top of another paper. And then it's a close-up of the gems. And then this is just another corner. So I had that one solo to kind of introduce the show. And then I had these three that were next to each other. I also don't, I was also working with like, I don't know if I've like showed photos or showed prints. So I'm like, I don't have a frame. And I'm like, I'm not gonna buy a frame. I'm gonna leave this place. So I just like mounted them like directly on the wall. So I had a hard time figuring out how to show these and frame them or not, or surround them with something. So it was definitely an experiment. And then I had these three next to each other. This one was one with my parents and kind of like them through a mini portal and just playing with like the forms of the different prints on top of each other. So that's a close up too. And you can see their outlines. So you could tell they're like not actually a part of the photo, which is like I like making it kind of obvious it's a collage. This is one with my brother. And then these little, it was in the bushes, which is part of a landscape. All of these landscapes I like was hiking. So I was hiking in Wales. They have very nice landscapes. Um, so it's all kind of related to that location, like very specifically. And them kind of just being these stickers, just kind of staring out and following me. Um, that's a close up. And then these butterflies are also stickers, so they're not real. They are just they're like put on there in the same way as stickers and reimagined. But I really like them kind of floating in these bushes here, like very magic and they're slightly glittery. And then these two on the water as well with the collage. This is my favorite one. This one, this one has the most close-ups because this is my favorite one, just to play with like the butterflies. And then this one of my sisters was the fourth one I did. I felt like it's hard when I have a big family and then it's like, well, everyone has to be incorporated. Like if I don't include like my parents or one of my siblings, then it's like they each have to have their own photo print in some way. So it was kind of hard too because I feel I'm the oldest, so I have this like responsibility to like include everyone. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's how
so I
that's how
kind
you
of
start like generational beef.
yes. So everyone had to like I had to figure out how to play with the each everyone's prints in slightly different ways or different landscapes. Yeah. Everyone like has to be happy. And then I did do a mini installation because I found a projector there in their storage closet, the galleries. So I did this video installation, which was my favorite. They had this tucked away corner in the gallery. The gallery, they told me, used to be a nightclub. So this was a DJ booth. So the DJ booth was like elevated a little bit, tucked behind kind of like the wall there, which I really loved that it was a nightclub and full of music and party. So I made this installation there, which was also using textile, and it was using home footage video of parties that my family would have at home. So again, using that old home footage, and I wanted to recreate kind of like the feeling of like a house party and like you can when there's a lot of house parties in my neighborhood I grew up in where you could like hear the music, it's really loud and it's like you can see sometimes they have lights or they have like a band and it's just like to have that in the environment like as a neighbor. But it's also like elevated and tucked away so it's like you can't access it but you can look at it. So I had that in that little space there. I mean, it was like 5 feet by 5 feet, like it wasn't that small, um, but it was tucked away a little bit because it was raised and away from like the normal gallery. So this is a shot of that, and I had also a party light. So this is a video. So that's just a small clip. The whole video runs for 1 hour. And that was just a compilation that I made going through my home footage on my hard drive of all the house, like indoor house parties they had. So it can kind of reflect like that environment of being like in the home and you're looking out from outside the windows. And it was really, I really liked it. And I had a party light in there, so it was more dynamic. And everything was sewn. So I was sewing, I sewed this all together. So I was really proud of it. Because it was like a kind of dimensional piece. And that's just a close up of like the front. You can see the lights inside. And then this is a close up of the fabric because the window fabric had this like floral texture. So it reminded me a little of the curtains, but also of like stained glass a little bit, just having like those textures in the windows. And then I made a little TV piece as well. So I had another video in this other corner of the gallery. And I made a little plushy TV. So I found this like plastic form and then it had a crazy lens on it. So I made it basically into a TV. And this was I made this in a day because I had one day left for the show. And I was like, what else can I put in this show just for like fun? So I was like, I have this extra pink fabric from the house party. So I kind of sewed around it. I learned how to sew at that point better. So I was kind of shaping it. And it's playing a video, a live stream of Los Angeles. And the title for this work is Los Angeles 8 hours ago to kind of reflect like the time difference. So it was a live stream, but it's from like 8 hours in the past of Wales, but it's also not there. So it's kind of like almost like a time travel and looking back. And the lens was a weird lens. I forget what it's called, but it distorted the image. Like unless you were looking straight at it, it had this weird like distortion around it. I forget what it's called, but it was really fun, really cool, just to play with like LA and like the whole theme about family and missing home and like these ghosts of home. So I was happy with it, and that's it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you produce like a significant amount of work for this show for like in a new place with new
Yeah,
materials. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I know it was
Um,
all I did there. Well, I explored a lot. It was just like very immersive.
yeah. Well, I have some questions, but before I jump in, Will or Stella, do you have any questions for Susan?
I have a question, if that's all right.
Hmm.
So this is about the 3 minute video you showed earlier in the lecture, or whatever it is. Essentially, like, so for one of our assignments, I looked at a bunch of like raw camcorder footage of like family videos just to see like what makes it so compelling. And I found that it's usually because like they capture really like organic and special, like just sort of raw moments. And so I was wondering how like the digital layering and filtering add to the emotional value of like the raw footage of your family.
Yeah, I think it's also a huge difference. I don't know if it's like reality TV or the boost of like editing or social media videos. I definitely like in my dad's footage, it's like so pure. Like it's like, and he also didn't know it was going to be used for anything. So it's like, it's very pure and it's like just him trying to record things and often like my dad would have a practice of like he's filming this to send it to someone to share or like they would swap tapes to share like things that they would record um but yeah, not very like edited, so or like edited for different reasons, so it feels like so much more organic versus when I'm shooting it's so produced. It's like this is the camera, this is the lighting, you like putting my siblings in front of a backdrop and like saying go, or I'm going to ask you questions and then go. So it's like such a different, and I feel like I have this more like contemporary sense of like how videos are shot for things and like
Hmm.
spending a crazy amount of time editing just like a reel and how that's like so particular versus just like the loose organic. So there's a huge clash. Like you can always tell when it's like my footage versus his footage. Mine is
Yeah.
also brighter and it's like sharper. So yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. I like the back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, that was a really nice work, by the way. I really liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You talked about Stella. Jump in if you've got a question. Um, but you talked about your family wanting to be involved with your work. Like you're using these old family footage, tapes, and photos and everything like that. That's a little bit different than like approaching your family now and being like, "Hey, do you want to be stickers or whatever?" Has there ever been any friction where you're like, this is now an artwork. You didn't intend it to be an artwork. This was like a private thing that you filmed or was only for family, but now it's art for the world. It's been I don't want to say like commoditized, but like something akin to that, I suppose. Um, how's that gone? Like, is there any friction there? Do you feel like they have like complete trust in handing these like family relics to you? Yeah. How's that going?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. They are very into it, which is good. So I definitely like, I wouldn't do it if they didn't want to do it. But it's nice that they've been so like also just into me being an artist and like very supportive of me. Because again, I was in cognitive science. I was like, and I've never been an artist. Like I never grew up being like, I want to be an artist and I want to. So it was like they've always been supportive of like the path that I'm doing, but they also like my work, which I think is important. Like if I did it in a way where they didn't like it, like that would be so different. But they come to like all my shows and they participate in that way as well. And like I had a screening for my dad's the one he shot, the aliens video, and he was like there in the screening and he was like people were laughing at his jokes and he just like loved seeing that and like not realize like being appreciated that like his footage was like good and like funny still and he really liked that. I actually think my dad is very creative and very much like an artist. He just like didn't have that life, like that lifestyle. So I feel like he really has fun with like seeing me do that and kind of playing with it. So it's definitely like a lot of support there. And like when with the sticker work, like I didn't even know it was on their end. Like they were like, we want to be stickers. They were okay. It was on their end because like I had my show and I was stickers myself because I was like, I'm just thinking of myself. And then they were having conversations apparently were like, we should be like a family of stickers and we should like all have one, just like we can have them interact or something. So then they told me this like very recently and I was like, what? Like, oh yeah, let's do it. Um, so it was like very supportive. But it's like definitely something I'm taking into account. I don't know, like I filmed some stuff with my dad that I haven't used yet, but I have filmed it with him thinking I might use it one day. So it's like I have very open conversations with them about like my ideas and seeing kind of like what they're into. Um, my dad also like he's one of those where like he's had a lot of experiences and he sees kind of my art as like a platform for him. So like we did a video after where he was like, people need to believe me because I've seen these things and it's like the video itself is like so much out of like actual genuine wonder. Um, which I love because it's very much like his perspective. So, but yeah, I talk to him about it a lot in like my practice, especially because none of them are practicing artists. They all do other things like very different. So they kind of think it's fun right now. But it's definitely like I think going to be a development as I go, yeah, it'll be interesting.
There's a truck driving by making an announcement, so it's kind of loud. I don't know if you can hear it. But again, Will and Stella, jump in if you have any other questions. I can talk forever. Um, you are obviously engaged with tech in kind of like a pastiche way, but also like you're utilizing contemporary technology, like you mentioned, using After Effects. Um, I'm gonna open a can of worms when we have like literally no time remaining. How do you feel about AI? And
Okay.
like specifically if you could recreate or reanimate, or I don't know what you want to call it, but if you could train an AI model to say, be your grandmother, and then based off of maybe like family footage to make a quote unquote accurate reincarnation of your grandma, is that something that you find interesting, or like, no, that's terrifying, send it to hell, or like just your current opinion? And granted, it could change, but yeah, where are you at with that right now? Because family is so important and you're interested in tech. I was like, ooh, I want to ask this.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if you've watched the Orville. You should watch the Orville.
I've
Um,
seen season one so far.
oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. And especially like my husband works a lot like around AI with his robots. Um, so I generally think, especially if you watch this episode of the Orville, it's like so much has existed for centuries and centuries, especially having gone to the UK and like things being like 1,000 years old. Um, I think a lot about like my death and my existence after, and potentially one day being recreated, like one day. And the more data that you have on someone, the more you can recreate them. I think that's interesting. So it's like if I'm going to save all this onto a hard drive, it's like I don't have a big practice of deleting photos off my phone. I just buy more storage. I just like have more because it's like the more content of myself as like a human, as a character, the more of me, like let's say at different angles, like photos at different angles, like the three-dimensionality of that. One day, like someone can find that I have my phone and then my form can like exist on because I was someone who collected a lot of data of myself. I think that leads to longer representation, just like more representation, more diversity, because who gets to live on? And I think about that, when they talk about the Mayans and like the Mayans, all their stuff was burned, all their stuff was destroyed. They didn't write in stone, they wrote on paper. So it's like a lot of their history and their stories aren't known because they weren't able to preserve their history for greater reasons, but also it was so fragile versus like this English architecture writing in stone from the Greeks is like that lives on and like there's no mystery around them. So it like leaves their culture so fragile to like misinterpretation and all these like not very equal representation, I guess, of like these ancient cultures. So I think about like myself as existing like as an ancient culture currently. This is kind of a crazy question. It's like I very much think like 100 years from now, 200 years from now, like what do we leave behind? Because I'm so aware that I'm a moment and I'm just like, especially the digital time right now that we live in, like being able to save so much. I think about that a lot and like archiving and keeping this just for like future reasons. Yeah. AI is like, I think we don't have much control over it, but we have control over like how we have that aspect of our world, like digitally, like how we save ourselves. So I kind of think of it like that. But I'm thinking like the far future. Like the current is like AI is so crazy and insanely used. In the far future, I have no idea. But it's like I'm trying to build my collection and then what I build of my family and like how they get saved and like whose stories get saved. So I think about it like that.
So
Yeah.
we'll just have to pick this question up again in 100 years and see where we are.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
Thank you. I liked where you took that. That's a really interesting perspective. Like dipping back and like taking a look at like how previous cultures or entities have survived time, and you're thinking
Yeah.
about it that way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
especially
oh,
ancient
sorry.
culture.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
It's okay.
Before we let you go, Will or Stella, any last questions for Susan?
I didn't have any questions, but thank you so much for presenting. I really, really liked seeing how your work kind of developed into like the most recent projects in Wales. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Cool. Well, Will, Stella, thank you so much for joining us live. And Susan, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day, especially just coming back from Wales.
Yeah.
Please go to bed.
I know. I have to have dinner. It's
All
weird.
right. Yeah. Cool. All right. I will be talking to you soon. Thank you again. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, Dana, for having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye bye, everyone.